right, YouTube, you got to work with me here. All right, well, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for coming. And I'm going to try this again. All right, now. I'm going to persevere. I think that might be today's message. Persevere when, and you have to adjust. Yep. So this is what we're doing. All right, now. Yep. Here we go. So I'm going to put today's first quote here. Okay. Good morning. Hopefully you can read this. I saw this quote a couple days ago. Thought this was pretty interesting. Yes. Yes, yes. So welcome back in. Anybody who came through before. Oh, Sweet Pea. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back. All right, YouTube. I guess this positivity isn't good for them today. Okay, and this is Mark Twain. Mark Twain. So how are you doing? How was your weekend? Hopefully I'm spelling this right. Mark Twain. Yep. Very interesting. Thanks for coming back. So anyway, but today I wanted to really talk about gratitude, but I saw this quote and I figure I'll throw this up as something to meditate on for a moment. So whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Mark Twain. Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. Hey, Noni mate, you're awake? Girl, I thought you'd be sleeping. Thanks for coming in. Yeah. While we're something to think about in the back of your mind, with whatever's going on in the world. And this is one of those things I always say. Busy per usual. How was your? Yeah, same thing. Trying to, do a lot. We're trying to do too much. And I've been trying to say to my husband, we got to pick our battles and then kind of, do one thing at a time. Even if it's for 5 minutes, you got to do one thing for a time. Ooh, Noni, can you take a look at that message? I don't know if you, oh, you got 4 hours? Is that enough? Let me see. I did not, um, yeah, I didn't turn on my moderation, which is bad. Hopefully it's nothing bad. Let's see. Sometimes people put in, they have interesting comments, but I wasn't able to get my comments open this morning, so we'll see. I'm going to try, but I'm going to try not to, keep going. But anyway, but you got 4 hours. That's good. So that's beautiful writing. Oh, thank you. So anyway, so this is kind of something that I, as I've gotten older, and when I say older, I'm saying older than like 40. uh, so a lot of your parents and your family, and your church or people like that who run your life, they kind of tell you what you should believe. And I was very gullible. I won't say gullible, but I listened to my parents probably to a fault in some ways. And, so I really didn't have my own beliefs until I was quite old, I would say. And, Mark Twain was kind of interesting. Samuel Clemens, that's his real name, but this is his pseudonym that he wrote, Huckleberry Finn and some other books, um, in there. But, one of the things that he said, and see, I was always one of these people, always following the majority because it was easier. You know what I'm saying? I was a troll. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was because of the way my screen is. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So anyway, so this is just something to think about, just kind of in addition to the normal stuff we do. So anyway, but I just thought this was interesting. All right now. So yeah, it just really think about it and make sure that morally, ethically, all those things that the majority does isn't always the best thing. And I just want to throw that out there, just as I was thinking last night. And hey, Suzanne, thanks for coming back. Yeah, I said YouTube's messing with me today. All right, now. Okay, so this is what we're doing today. So, welcome to the IBringit Everyday channel. The plan is to start your week off on a positive note and to think about ways that you can move yourself forward in life if you don't like where you are. And the whole thing is in life, if you don't like where you are, you can always change it. And so you just have to make a plan to get to where you want to go. And like, I'm trying to think of a good example. But let's just say, like, so the biggest plan, there's two plans that I made in my life that were kind of big. And the one was getting my college education. So when I set off doing the plan, I kind of said, okay, what do I have to do to get into college? Right? And I knew I needed money, you know, needed money. So I had to figure out, a scholarship, like how to get to the scholarship. I'll put this here. Had to get a scholarship. I had to figure out where to go, where can I afford, where who would let me in, you know? And then, trying to get the grades, trying to get the good grades, so you had to get the good grades. You had to get the grades. Then you had to get your SAT, right? So I had to take all those steps to kind of get there. So this is just an example of a plan. So I was trying to get to, college, right? And this was just real basic, nothing real fancy here, but I just went, okay, I want to get to college. So what do I need? I knew I needed dough because it was expensive. And I had to figure out where I was going to go, based on this price, right? Because a lot of it's all like money. Like, I hate to say money runs a lot of things, but most of your decisions, you have to sort of analyze it in terms of what you can afford comfortably and things like that, right? And then, I'll say scholarships. Yep. And I had to sign it, kind of say like, where did I want to go? And then the price, we're going to say price, all these things. And then where would I fit in? Where do I fit? Where do I fit? Where do I fit? What's a good fit? Where do I fit? All right. So those are like the questions that you have to figure out, right? So, good morning, Kenneth. Yep. Thanks for stopping by. So this is a real basic thing. So, so throughout all of my education, I kind of went through elementary school, middle school, high school, and tried to get the highest grades that I could. Right? Then same thing, SAT, you had to study. You had to come up with the money for this test. You had to have your study time, study time. And you had to get one of those, training books to show you how to get there. And and that took, months, really. And I think I took it twice to see, if my score changed and all that. It went up a little bit, but it really wasn't worth taking it twice because it was very stressful. Then, so anyway, so these are some of the things that you have to think about. And then you have to put time, you have to put time on this. So you always have to timestamp certain things, So you have to find out when do I apply? Once you find your school, when do I apply? Do they have any money? What's the essay that you have to talk about? You have to write that essay. So there's all these little steps and layers to everything that you have to do. But you have to make sure that everything aligns to where kind of the way you plan. I mean, this is really broadly planned, but this is one of those things. So I was able to accomplish most of this, and then, and I made it through. And then the other thing is trying to finish, because I went to school with a lot of people that didn't make it, like a lot. Like I want to say, let me see if I can count. I know about 20 people that didn't finish. And I remember going, you spent all this money. What are you doing? Because like I said, I was very focused. So you got to stay focused. So once you have your plan laid out and you start executing the steps to get to your plan, you always have to reevaluate like where you are. So like, let's say I want to go to Harvard and my grades are like B and maybe B minus. My SAT is only 900. Realistically, can I go to Harvard? Probably not. Right? because those people have really high SATs. They have 16, not 1600, but they have probably 1400 and up or 1500 and up. So if you have this SAT score, you're not going to get into Harvard, right? Um, you know, and then you have to have the money. I mean, they do give scholarships, but once again, if you're a kid from a little hick town in Pennsylvania, whose parents are, kind of blue collar, can you really afford Harvard? Which I think the last time I looked was like 70K a year, you know. So anyway, so those are all the things you have to kind of reevaluate and then find other ways of getting there. So that's just like a really basic plan. But then you always go back, periodically and say, what have I accomplished? Am I moving forward? And things like that. So those are the things that I always talk about, like when you go through school. But now the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is not but I got this from the Dollar Tree, and I don't know if you guys, a lot of people shop there, but this is not mine. But one thing that's in here, a gratitude challenge, which I think I may actually start doing that. So they say, you have you write it in there. These little each day is a little bubble for the month. But basically, you say, today I'm grateful for, and then something I look forward to, I can serve others by, and the lesson that I learned is whatever. So let's say, like today, like I was thinking, so I've been really focusing on my family lately. So I would say right now, and I'm talking about my husband and my kids. So I would say,